Hi everyone, I am a psychology student at master's level in psychotherapy, and today we'll be continuing our series of videos on Good Will Hunting, and I'll be reacting to a scene that I've selected later down the movie that comes after the scene that we've watched last week. So let's just get started.
You feel like you're alone, Will?
What?
Do you have a soulmate?
Do I define that?
Somebody who challenges you.
Chucky.
No, Chucky's family. He'd lie down in fucking traffic for you. No, I'm talking about someone who opens up things for you, touches your soul.
I got.
Who?
I got plenty.
Well, name them.
Shakespeare, Nietzsche, Frost, O'Connor, Kant, Pope, Locke.
That's great. They're all dead.
This time, at this point in the movie, the characters have been talking to each other a little bit more, and they know each other's styles more. So I feel like we are a little bit more connected to each other in terms of the therapist and the client now. And you can see how their ways of communicating and talking are a little bit more on the same level, which is still pretty casual. And Sean's approach is pretty not aggressive, but at least challenging. Like, oh yeah, name them. You have relationships, okay, name them, which is a little bit like, you know, in your face style of questioning. But he might have established that this is the style of therapy that Will needs, and so we have to keep this in mind, that this is the style that the therapist has decided to establish with this client, and it's not necessarily appropriate as long as it gets the job done. Now on the content side, so the question was, well, do you have people to relate to? Do you have soulmates? And Will answered by listing names of philosophers, and that just doesn't work. Philosophers don't count as social support. It has to be people, of course, in your real life that you can actually talk to, and this is what we're getting at, so let's just keep going.
Not to me, they're not.
You don't have a lot of dialogue with them. You can't give back to them, Will. You'll never have that kind of relationship in a world where you're always afraid to take the first step because all you see is every negative thing 10 miles down the road.
You gonna take the professor's side on
Don't
this?
give me a line of shit, no.
Look, I didn't want the job.
It's not about the job. I don't care if you work for the government. But you can do anything you want. You are bound by nothing. What are you passionate about? What do you want?
So we're getting to very interesting questions, which are, what are you passionate about? What do you want? And these are very important questions to establish for everyone, but the reason why it's being brought up by the therapist is because a lot of people don't know what their passions are or what they want, and so this is a very good like baseline question for therapy to have the rest of the therapy build upon. And so I think could be Sean's approach in this. And the way that he actually asks the question and brings it up in his style, it's very almost confrontational, like challenging and emotional. Like, don't give me bullshit. Like, tell me what you want. Tell me what's on your mind. And I think this is an approach that he's taking because Will is such a very intellectual person. He's gifted. Like, if you watch the movie, you understand that he's a very intelligent person, and he doesn't really let people get to him. He has scenes in the movie before this where he meets other therapists, and he just essentially outsmarts them, outwits them. And so Sean has to find an approach that's not so much on the intellectual debate level, and he has to take an approach that's a little bit more emotional, so that Will cannot use his intelligence as a defense mechanism as much. Because if you've ever been in therapy, and I have many times, you know that when it gets to deeper levels of questioning and of introspection, you might have different impulses and ways to react that are going to make you want to avoid those questions and those introspections. And one way that you might do that, and I think this is the case for Will's character, is to intellectualize everything. And there's a big difference between being intelligent and using intellectualism as a defense mechanism to not access your own feelings and being an introspective person. So, like, in my opinion, in our culture, there's a little bit of a misunderstanding of that. So we have in our culture, in our society, intelligence and intellectualism is seen as such this great thing, this amazing thing. But I think we're missing the distinction between being intelligent and scientific in the scientific and intelligent discussions versus using intelligence as a way to avoid emotion. And everyone has emotion. It's not possible to not have emotion. And if someone doesn't live their emotions and access them and is not able to talk to them, at least to themselves, let alone another person, well, that's a problem. And so you might have to examine the different defense mechanisms that are blocking the person from accessing their own feelings. And this is what's happening here. We have Will is starting to be faced with difficult questions by the therapists about what he wants and things that are deep down. And because we've already observed that about him, we expect that he's going to use his intelligence as a way to get out of this line of questioning, because that's the way he functions, that's his defense mechanism. And this is why Sean's approach is so critical, because he identified interioralism as Will's defense mechanism, as his way of not accessing his feelings and what's hidden deep down inside of him. And so he has to try to get over that, like bypass it. And he does that by using a more emotion-focused language, which in part is being expressed by his use of, oh, don't give me bullshit, like this kind of very casual approach that tries to not be too much intellectual and too much on the debate side. So let's just keep watching.
I didn't ask for this.
No, you were born with it, so don't cop out behind. I didn't ask for this.
What do you mean cop out? I mean, what's wrong with land brick?
Nothing.
There's nothing wrong with it. That's somebody's home I'm building.
Right, that's real work.
That's right.
Right, and that's honorable. Sure, that's why you took that job. I mean, for the honor of it.
Why did you sneak around at night and finish other people's formulas that only 1 or 2 people in the world could do?
And then lie about it? Because I don't see a lot of honor in that, Will. So what do you really want to do?
So we're really still in this style that's very challenging, and it's almost borderline really conflictual questioning from the therapist, but he's established that this is a style that he has to use to really get to his clients. He has to get to Will's emotions and what's inside of him and what he wants to, what Will who should be able to access. And so I can accept it in this way, but you could also have another approach to this scene where you could say that this is not so much therapy as much as it is just a conversation with a therapist, which is different from an actual therapy session. So personally, I would choose to see it and to just accept it as a therapy session where the style is very casual and on the challenging side, but in a strategic, intentional way, rather than just saying that this is not so much therapy as it is a conversation with a therapist. But you could really say both, and you would have to talk to this imaginary character to Sean to really get to what he thinks and how he's approaching the session, which obviously we can't do. So it's really up to the observer to decide if this is intentional decision making in terms of how to approach the style of therapy to get to your clients, or if it's just not really therapy and it's just a conversation. Personally, I choose to approach it as if it was an intentional choice of therapy style.
I want to be a shepherd.
Really?
I want to move up to Nashua, get a nice little spread, get some sheep, and tend to them.
Maybe you should go do that.
What?
You know, if you're gonna jerk off, why don't you just do it at home with a moist towel?
You chucking me?
Yeah, get the fuck
Hey,
out.
no. Time's not up yet.
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
not leaving, no.
Listen, you're not gonna answer my questions. You're wasting my fucking time.
What? I thought we were friends. What do you mean you...
Playtime's over, okay?
Well, why are you kicking me out, Sean? You're lecturing me on life? Look at you fucking...
So this makes me think that there's a little bit of a disconnect on what I said earlier about what do they think they're doing exactly. I think Sean could be thinking that he's doing therapy in a casual style, while Will on the other side thinks this is just a casual conversation because he said, "I thought we were friends," like as if he was saying, "I thought we were just like talking shit to each other, like we've done before." And so I think Will was maybe in this mindset where it doesn't really matter what he says because they're just kind of joking around or discussing very casually, whereas Sean was more in the mindset of actual therapy, but with a casual approach or style. And since Will took it a little bit too far in his talking shit to each other style of communication, saying, "Oh, I want to be a shepherd," which is not true, Sean just decides, okay, you're not following the therapy, you're avoiding the therapy on purpose, and there's no point to us being here and doing this. So I'd say this could really be what's happening between these two characters, that they're not very much in agreement in what they're doing, and so one took it too far in one direction, and now the therapist has to say, okay, no, let's just stop here. The other approach that you could take to this segment is that this is still therapy, and this is still Sean's strategic approach to therapy, and he just chooses to use a very challenging approach, like, oh, get up and get to the door and like fuck off. And this could still be a strategy inside of therapy to still be on the very emotional, reactive realm of communication, because that's what you've decided is going to work with Will. So these are the two approaches to this scene that I can distinguish personally. I'm not so sure which one I buy more into, but that's what I have to say about this.
Burn out? What winds your clock?
Working with you.
Where's your soulmate? You want to talk about soulmates? Where is she?
Dead.
That's right, she's fucking dead. She fucking dies, and you just cash in your chips and you walk away?
Hey, at least I played a hand.
Oh, and you played a hand and you lost. You lost a big fucking hand, and some people lose a big hand like that and have the sack to ante up again.
Look at me. What do you want to do?
This was interesting. So we were still, there's a little bit of a problem with what Sean is communicating. So he's still talking about his dead wife, and so this is self-disclosure, which is when the therapist discusses his own life, his own history, even his own opinion or ideas could count as self-disclosure. And but self-disclosure has to be strategic. It has to serve a purpose, and the purpose is that it's going to help the client in some way. And here in this example of self-disclosure, it doesn't seem like there's any strategic use of Sean talking about his dead wife. He's more reacting as if it was just a conversation going, and he's not so much a therapist, and he's just reacting to whatever comes to him. You know, he just goes with the flow and doesn't think so much about the goal of the therapy, and thinking about, oh wait, I'm a therapist, I have to not self-disclose as an emotional reaction. It has to be strategic. So do I want to talk about my dead wife? Do I not want to talk about my dead wife? I don't think that's what's going on in his mind. Will just says that to him, and that's what automatically comes out of Sean, is talking about his dead wife without really any filter or self-reflection on whether or not this is useful to Will and useful to the therapy, which is what you should be doing as a therapist, to control your counter-transference. But what's very interesting here at the end before I post is that Sean used, oh, what do you want to do? He used it again, which was his first approach to the deeper questions of therapy. He said that earlier in this scene, and he's saying it again at what seems like a weird moment in terms of the scene and the cinematography and stuff. But when we think about it in terms of strategic therapy, you could be saying that Sean was on purpose approaching this very emotional level of communication to get Will to be even more emotional, which he is right now on screen. Like, you can see it in his eyes, in Matt Damon's acting. He's really getting worked up, and this could be Sean's strategy to get Will to really access his emotion, because he gets him worked up even more. And so he got to that point where they're both worked up, they're both very emotional, and Sean was apparently self-disclosing unintentionally, unstrategically, but this might have been a strategy to get Will to this point, and now Sean is coming back with his old idea that he used earlier in the scene to discuss, okay, what do you want? That's what his intention was earlier in the therapy. That's his therapeutic intention. He's talking about what do you want to his clients. And it didn't work the first time. So now the second time he got Will even more worked up, even more on the emotional level and far away from intellectualization. And now that he successfully managed to get higher in the emotion, he's remembering, oh wait, this is what I'm doing as a therapist, is I'm getting him to talk to me about what he wants to do. That's what I want to do in this session. That's what I want to get him at. And now that I've built up the emotion, I'm gonna send this at him again and see if now I've successfully reached a level of emotion where the Will is capable of talking about this more openly and without intellectualization coming up again. So let's just see Will's reaction.
You and your bullshit.
So Will, he didn't have anything to say, but oh wait, you asked me, and you could see that it's like his brain just froze for a second because he didn't see it coming. He thought this was purely an emotional conversation and they were just talking shit to each other. And then suddenly the therapist throws the question at him. Okay, what do you want? And it just gets to him and he freezes. He can't really access it. He can't find it inside him. What does he want? He can't quite access this level of introspection, even after all the build-up that we've had in the emotional realm of communication. So it seems on the surface level that this has failed and it's not working. But really, we'll have to judge that further in this scene and in the scene next week. So let's finish.
You got a bullshit answer for everybody. But I ask you a very simple question, and you can't give me a straight answer. Because you don't know. See you, Bo Peep. Fuck you. You're the shepherd. Shepherd. Prick.
Yeah, so there we go. We finished the scene, and we just have the confirmation that Will doesn't have an answer, and Sean doesn't really know what to do with this, I think. So I hope this was interesting. If you'd like to keep learning about psychology from reactions, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'll be releasing the last scene from Good Will Hunting next week. I hope to see you there. Bye bye.